Have you ever heard rap music?
Does Sir Mix-a-Lot like booty?
Listen to this. Actual rap lyrics. Life ain't nothing but gritches and money. Only they don't say gritches. They say a certain word that rhymes with it that starts with a B.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. And it's official. Marvel has canceled 12 series. Now, 5 of them we kind of already knew or suspected were canceled. Maybe we got a heads up from a creator, or maybe it was part of an event that's already over, or it was a precursor to an event that's already ongoing. So we kind of knew 5 of them were done, but there's 7 of them that were definitely news to me, and I think news to most people that they were actually canceled. Still no word on some high-profile projects. I'm going to go into those, including New Warriors. But we do have a word. There are some cancellations. We're going to get all the details. Now, before I do that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy these videos. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. I definitely want to hear your feedback in the comments section. Were you reading any of these ongoings that have been canceled, or maybe any of these planned projects that were canceled as well? And what do you think is going to happen with New Warriors, America Chavez, and some of the other projects that we don't quite have word on yet? Now, getting into it, I will discuss New Warriors first. These are projects that are still up in the air that are of note. I'll just hit these first. Obviously, New Warriors by Daniel Kibblesmith, the comic series, or the trailer that launched 1,000 rebuts. From every side, everyone was offended or hated what New Warriors represented, especially Safe Space and Snowflake. Still no word. I thought there for a moment that it might be just released as a trade paperback, but I believe that was just a miss. Like, it wasn't supposed to still be released on trade when they announced, or when it was still up there. I think that was actually from beforehand. They just never took it down as far as the solicitations. I think this is probably still going to come out as single issues, like a mini series, but we shall see. Will we get to see the adventures of Snowflake and Safe Space and Trailblazer? Please, Marvel, release this comic. I need to review it. The viewers want to know, could it be as bad as we all anticipated? What is Daniel Kibblesmith going to deliver the good stuff? You know, the type of crapola comic that you could only dream of. Another high-profile project that was announced but has never released is America Chavez, Made in the USA. This is a 5-part miniseries as well. Going to be written by Marvel's runaway TV writer, Kalinda Vasquez. Now, America Chavez has had an interesting history. Obviously, Gabby Rivera, launched the character out, was not very well received, did not sell very well, and has some of the most. It's hard to actually describe just how bad the dialogue and just the overall premise in the stories in that comic were. That was an absolute train wreck. It'll be interesting to say if they try and save the America Chavez character, or if they double down on what Gabby Rivera's had kind of started moving forward. I imagine we'll see this one as well in the future. I think they were kind of pot committed to the character and aren't willing to go back. Now, also still we don't know about is something I was very excited about, Dark Ages, which is like the dystopian future, kind of like deceased universe that we have over on DC. But in Marvel Comics, that was going to be written by Tom Taylor of Deceased in Injustice over on Marvel, or over on DC. Now, for the most part, Tom Taylor is one of the worst writers I've ever read when he's on Marvel. Like, he's unreadable. His Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was awful. X-Men Red was awful. Basically, everything he's done at Marvel is really dumpster fire, kind of trash stuff. It'll be interesting to see if he can salvage his reputation and maybe deliver the goods on a Marvel product, Dark Ages, that's more in tone with what he's been very successful with at DC, in mainstream comics. Also really exciting on that, the artist was supposed to be Ivan Coelho, who is the fill-in artist for Venom with Donny Cates, who's been doing some really good stuff. Hopefully they haven't changed that and he's still the artist. I'm really excited about Dark Ages. Really hope that one comes out somewhat soon. Also unknown is X-Corp. That was a weird title. It was supposed to be Dawn of X. The only person that ever confirmed the name of that it was coming out, it was supposed to come out in February, was artist Carmen Carnero. They said that they never attached the writer to it, and it was never formally announced by Marvel. So those are kind of some of the bigger ones that are up in the air. There's some other stuff I'm going to talk about at the end that is probably less prominent, but stuff I was more excited about, besides Dark Ages. Now, the new cancellations that we do have, There's some bigger titles in here, some stuff that I was personally excited for, and then a few things that, like, why were they going to make that anyway? So one of the big ones is Jane Foster Valkyrie. That was Jason Aaron. Now this kind of spun out of the pages of War of the Realms, which was Jason Aaron's kind of farewell on Thor. Obviously, I think he'd been on the character for like 6 or maybe like 8 years. He was on there for a very long time, started out really hot. Kind of fizzled towards the end. One of the big things that he did was make Jane Foster Thor. Basically made Thor himself unworthy. He came back and took the mantle back up. And I guess Jason Aaron could not forget or give up on Jane Foster. He decided to replace the current Valkyrie in Marvel Comics with Jane Foster in War of the Realms. It almost felt like War of the Realms was more of a vehicle to launch that comic than to do anything cool with Thor. It was really disappointing. Not surprised that this is canceled because nobody wanted it. Nobody asked for Jane Foster Valkyrie. Probably the only person that wanted this comic was Jason Aaron and maybe Tom Brevoort in the Legion of Doofuses. But the fans didn't want it, and it's going to be coming to an end. Another somewhat higher profile series was Morbius, Living Vampire. That was Vita Ayala. A curious choice for a character of that nature. Not really known as a horror writer. But Morbius was supposed to be out by now, like the movie in the Sony like Spider-Man universe, with Venom. Obviously, movies aren't happening right now. That's been indefinitely delayed. There is a Morbius one-shot from Ralph Macchio coming out. I believe it's in February. So if you were missing Morbius, you will get this. We'll get that, but you will not get an end to the Morbius, the Living Vampire series. I wonder if they'll finish up of anything that they had like in a trade or on digital. Not really sure. Another thing that sounded pretty cool, I wasn't the biggest fan of Silver Surfer Black. I did not like the Tradmore art. I think that's probably an acquired taste, a little too trippy for me. Obviously, Donny Cates is the hottest writer at Marvel Comics. He was a writer that a lot of people love Silver Surfer Black. And, it's playing into the big King in Black series we got coming on. You got to see Null and where he came from and stuff like that. I'm surprised that they decided to cut that. It seemed like a moneymaker. People like that series. I imagine that one, it's going to be delivered in the future, right? It's all you're adding is like the script and maybe some notes and stuff. It seems like something that they would be able to sell. Now, some of the things that are being canceled that it never really made sense, like Amazing Spider-Man Daily Bugle from Matt Johnson. I guess at the time, maybe there was some room for it, but by the time this would have picked back up, you've already got Amazing Spider-Man, you got Nonstop Spider-Man, you still have Web of Spider-Man out there, Spider-Gwen. What else you got? You got Miles Morales Spider-Man, a lot of Spider characters out there. Probably wasn't any more room for it. It's not like people want a Daily Bugle anyway. Another one that's canceled was Becky Cloonan's Dark Agnes. That was the Robert E. Howard universe, kind of set in the Conan universe. They kind of started out strong. You had, Conan the Barbarian, you had Savage Sword of Conan, then you had Balut, when everyone was like, Balit, what the hell is this? Why is Teenie Howard writing a swashbuckling adventure? Like, was set in the Iberian age? No, didn't make any sense. They were kind of stretching it a little bit too far. I think you had like Conan, Seeker of the Serpent Crown or something. Obviously, Conan is in Savage Avengers. So they were probably overusing the characters. Dark Agnes seemed like a weird fit. And I guess they've given up on it. Probably smart. Also, Scream, Curse of Carnage from Clay McLeod Chapman. He obviously had worked on some of the Web of Venom stories that Donny Cates has been doing that were leading into like Absolute Carnage, leading into King in Black, that were associated with the Venom character. That was the ongoing that was associated with Absolute Carnage. I thought it was weird that they were making an ongoing associated with Absolute Carnage. I wonder if that was supposed to lead into some things in King in Black. Obviously, we're already there, and that has been canceled. You're not going to see the completion of that series. Also, the Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker #1, like the comic version of the movie, has been canceled. That was Jody Houser was going to do the adaptation. I imagine that one will come out in time. They've always done an adaptation of the movies, of the Star Wars movies at Marvel, but for now, it's been canceled. Now, moving on to the stuff that's been canceled officially that we kind of already knew about. Ironheart 2020 was supposed to be associated with the Iron Man 2020 event. Obviously, that one's been over for a couple months. Vita Ayala and Danny Lord were the writers on that one. I don't see why they would do anything Ironheart related without Eve Ewing. She's the only person that's ever made the character really work. And Obviously, it was extremely expendable once they realized they needed to cut down the line and save a little bit of money during the pandemic shutdown when they came back online, and they cut some of the fat on the Iron Man 2020 event. Seemed like an odd comic, not coming out. Black Cat by Jed McKay officially canceled. Obviously, that was issue 13. Well, it's not really canceled. It was rebooted. Issue 13 now became number 1. It's going to be rebooted in conjunction with King in Black. I get probably to bump sales and to get that number 1 issue bump. So technically canceled, but really it's been rebooted. Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme. Very odd idea from Mark Waid. Never really caught on. There's not really a Doctor Strange comic coming out. We already knew that one was canceled, but now it's official, folks. Mark Waid, everything he touches does not turn to gold at Marvel Comics, although his current Fantastic Four Annihilation. It's Annihilation, right? I think it is. No, it's not Annihilation. It's Antithesis. Fantastic Four Antithesis with Neil Adams is actually a pretty decent story with really good art. The other one we knew that was canceled was Ghost Rider from Ed Brisson. That was one of my favorite stories. I thought that was dope. They recently had, I think they had a story with Doctor Strange and Wolverine and stuff, but too bad that one got canceled. That was actually one of the better Marvel comics out there. Unfortunately, no one was reading it, and I don't think they were keeping Aaron Cooter on the art anyway. Another one that was canceled, this one obviously was going to have to be X-Men Dawn of X Saga. That was basically just like a collection. Like for people that weren't reading Dawn of X that were interested in Ten of Swords, you're going to be able to read that and be ready for Ten of Swords. Obviously, Ten of Swords is wrapping up next week. That one's canceled. Now let's get to some of the other unknowns that are still out there. Gwen Stacy from Christos Gage had a very high print run for the first issue. Lots of variant covers, lots of J. Scott Campbell variants and all that stuff. Definitely bumped up the sales. I don't know. Do we need a Gwen Stacy Origins comic? I don't imagine we're going to see this one again, but I could be wrong. Another Vita Ayala book, Nebula, is still out there flapping in the wind. We're not sure about that series. I read the first issue, terribly illustrated. I did not like it. I reviewed it here on the channel, and it was pretty bad. Another one out there, Web of Spider-Man from Kevin Shinnick. Obviously, he's the current writer on Flash. There's a lot of Spider-Man comics. It's hard to keep up. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you're dropping some serious coin. Another interesting one that hasn't, that we're still waiting on, I imagine this one does happen. It's called Darkhold Alpha. That's part of like a Darkhold, like Doctor Doom, a mini event from Steve Orlando, who's going to make his debut at Marvel Comics. I imagine that one still happens. I think it was Darkhold Alpha. It was 3 comics. The last one's Omega. I can't remember what the middle one is, but that one is still, we don't know. It was solicited, but we've never gotten follow-up information. Now, another one that I'm actually really interested in, and I think will be really dope, is Punisher versus Barracuda, Ed Brisson. Barracuda, obviously from the Punisher Max series, was going to make his debut in the official 616. Don't know that one's going to come out. I really hope it does because it sounds really cool. I like Ed Brisson for the most part. I thought his New Mutants was bad, but I don't think anybody was going to save that one. Another big series that was supposed to come out was Kurt Busiek's The Marvels. That was part of the 25th anniversary celebration of the Marvels comic series from Alex Ross. It was supposed to be like the most insane thing Marvel Comics ever done. I can't remember exactly how they termed it, but they were trying to make it a big deal. Obviously, it wasn't a big deal because it is still on hiatus. I imagine that one probably sees the light of day since they probably are going to celebrate that. Another series out there is Silk. If you're a big Cindy Moon fan, we don't know what's going to happen. That one's going to be written by novelist Maureen Gu. I believe she was making her comic book debut. I might be wrong on that one, but I think she was. So if you're a fan of Silk, hopefully it comes out. We're not really sure. A couple of other interesting ones: How to Read Marvel or Comics the Marvel Way, which I thought was really weird that they would have a guide on how to read Marvel comics, like and tell you how to read comics. That one we're not sure about. I imagine that probably gets released because it's probably completed. And the other one is Infinite Destinies, and that was going to be like the Marvel Infinity Stones event that was going to take place in annuals. And if you don't know, the Infinity Stones are kind of like, they're sentient now, and they're kind of like Green Lantern rings. They get to pick who gets to wield them from now on, and these annuals, like each stone was going to go to a new character, and they were going to feature that character with a known character, whether it be a good guy or a bad guy. Like if a bad guy got the ring or the the Infinity Stone, like a good guy would try to stop him, or if a good guy got the Infinity Stone, maybe he would be fighting a bad guy with it. I imagine. I don't know. That one's, who knows? I imagine it probably still comes out. It's supposed to be an event. They're probably working on it. I don't know. Do you think that's an interesting creative choice with the Infinity Stones? I thought it was kind of very derivative of things other people have done. So those are the unknowns that are still out there. Obviously, the big ones were New Warriors, America Chavez, Dark Ages, and X-Corp. And that'll do it. Those are the official cancellations. We still have plenty of Marvel comics that are out there that we don't know the status of. But if you're a fan of Valkyrie, Jane Foster, Morbius, the Silver Surfer Black Director's Cut, Amazing Spider-Man Daily Bugle, Dark Agnes, Scream, Curse of Carnage, the Rise of Skywalker comic adaptation, the 2020 Ironheart comic, Black Cat, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, X-Men, Dawn of X Saga. Obviously, Black Cat is being rebooted, not canceled. It's a bad day for you. Those are all officially done for. Hopefully, you've moved on to better things and you're enjoying what you're reading now. So definitely let me know about what your thoughts are on the cancellations. What do you think the fate of New Warriors? What do you think the fate of New Warriors is going to be? What is going to be the fate of America Chavez? Are we still going to see those? Are they going to come out digital? Are they going to come out in print? Do you think they'll come out in trades? I'm interested. I really want Dark Ages and Punisher versus Barracuda to come out. Those are the two that I'm really interested in. What are you interested in? Let me know.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.